Hello and welcome to another week of building Theed. This week I'm very much hoping to get basically all of this open space and bad looking stuff all covered up. I want to have this entire place looking tan and nice and beautiful and not this random colours and whatnot. And then once I get all that put in, I then want to start on some outside detailings on the same, like some railings and some. I want to put some statues here and here that are seen in Theed. The railings similar in style to the ones on those platforms. Just for something, so it's not completely boring and just covering up this week. So for the weeks after, I can then get to work on my towers and my temple and whatnot. And then once those are done, the mock's done. So yeah, I still don't have a real end date for when I want to have this finished or how many weeks it's going to take. Basically, I'm just recording as I go, as I build. I'm not necessarily building week on week. Like, I think I just, once I've finished a section like properly, that is that week's episode. Like, each of these rooms had their own week dedicated to them. So I'm likely to be finished maybe even by the time this video comes out, and look how done I actually am. But I think it's just better with more consistent content than if I were to just upload everything in a day and make like a 3-hour long video explaining my entire process and how I made it, and then not have anything to put out for ages. I think it's better if it comes just weekly in segments like this. But anyway, that's not really, I don't know why you'd want to hear this, but let's just get to building. But first, we've got a Bricklink haul. Okay, so we have 3 more little packages. These 2 are from eBay. This one's from Bricklink. Let's get the eBay ones open up first. This one's a bit more open, so we'll open up here. We have 4 figures here, I believe. I'll start with the less interesting one. This is a CMF missing the cape and with the wrong weapon, but it's the Spartan from Series 2. This is a super expensive one. He's worth like 20 quid. I think I got him for about like £4 or something. I got a really good deal on him. So my plan is to resell this one, I think, and try and get some money for him. Even if not, I still like him. It's really cool. That helmet's pretty awesome. But yeah, that's the first figure. Next up is, well, it's supposed to be Hoth Luke Skywalker, but I think he's got the wrong head, if I may not be mistaken there. But it's got a really cool torso. These 3, I bought this from the same seller, but these 3 came as a lot for like, I think a £5, and then that was like £4. I got 1 more Jar Jar Binks to add to my Gungan collection. Well, obviously for Theed. And then just this random Gungan, which is a bit of a mismatch of parts, but he can still just stand in the background on Theed. No, I already did open that one. I need to open this one. Oh, what's here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Where is it? It's still in the bag. I can feel it. 10 just regular battle droids. Just useful to have. Definitely not a waste of plastic in there, but you know, just you always need more droids, and there was a really good deal for these guys, because I was kind of didn't have enough, or not as many as I'd wanted, but now this should be enough, combined with what I've already got, to finish out Theed for battle droid wise. And then we've got a small Bricklink order, which I'll open up here. Most of this is for Theed, along with a couple of other stuff. Here is a good bunch of, I believe, 10 of these olive leaf pieces. Just a super useful piece and a super useful colour for tons of different mocks. Maybe they'll be used on the side of Theeds, but I think I'm going to go for the more just regular green rather than olive. I'm sure I can mix those in. Next up, also, I'll go through the non-Theed stuff first. I've got a couple of these dark brown shrink pieces, just because they make really interesting looking trees and will go nicely with those leaves. I've got a couple of small grey parts which I'll probably just use for detailing, because these are quite rare pieces. They're not rare, but just quite interesting. And I believe, yep, I do have the same in dark grey. I've got some more of these detailing wall pieces, because they're, again, super useful just for bases and stuff. And then this is my actual pieces just for Theed. Got a bit of paper, just saying what my Bricklink order was, and that's the store, which I'll be happy to show because I'm quite happy with this order. 4 more of these tan arches, because you know Theed needs them arches, and some more arches, these 1x6 ones. Some hinge plates, those will be for my temple most likely. These dark tan tiles will probably be used on the railings in the top section of Theed. And these 2 sand green dishes I've just got because they should go on tops of my towers. Yeah, so I'm trying to get through these openings a bit quicker because usually I spend like way too long on them. But that was this one, so let's get to building Theed. Okay, so as you can see now, I've proper like made this section really solid on both sides around my this structure. So now I've got this shape going on. I realised that I haven't created a lot of room on this side for my slots in there. In between the where this door is going to start and the actual edge of the platform, I'm considering taking out Obi-Wan because you can't see him all that well, especially when this will have other stuff on it. You can see him, but just barely, so I don't know if it's worth taking him out. Or what I might actually do is I can keep him in, but just change the scene that I'm filming, shooting. If I instead go for the old classic, he's holding on, Qui-Gon can come over here, and then Darth Maul can stand at the top instead, then I can fit him in. I think I'm going to do that instead, because then that way I can block up all of that and make this tighter to the wall. So it's just a case of saving space rather than just having this empty pit. So yeah, I think that's quite a good idea. I'm still waiting on the Bricklink order to get all of this sorted out. So I think what I'm going to do next, before I move up, because I really need to get those parts to do that, I want to work around the outside, get those tiles on, similar to the ones on there, to get this all looking good and more complete. Okay, so I've taken 1/2 of the mock off and put it on the floor over there, and then I'm just working on this first half, and I wanted to show you how I'm gonna actually do this, how I do like a randomized design, because everyone says it's randomized, but there is a specific way you do go about it, like in the same way I did this. In the last time you've seen me film, it took me about a silly amount of time to find these tiles. I thought I'd misplaced them, but it was just right behind my chair, which was very annoying. And then I took off all of the regular 2x2 tiles on the 3 sides of this, except for this one, and replaced it with the jumpers that I recently got a lot of on Pick-a-Brick, just because I need a lot more of these to go on the actual like top in the same way as this on top of there. So I'm going to keep as many of these as I can. I've only got this cup full, so I don't know how long that's going to last me, or if I need to order more. But yeah, for the time being, I'm just going to go for these on the outside. So hopefully they don't look too bad. Okay, so the first thing I do is I take my bigger tiles, because these will be the main thing you use, and just randomly place them all along here. That's all it is. That's the first thing I do, so I'll just show you how that looks. Okay, so to explain basically what's going on in this time lapse, first I'm putting down just tons and tons of 2x2 tiles, as I mentioned before, because I like to basically bulk it up. I'm using just dark tan regular plates and light tan jumper plates. I will then move in with the 1x tiles, which I don't have that many of, but just throw them in before we just go through 1x plates, just to finish out the gaps left over. It's not a ridiculously hard task, it's just making sure that you don't do anything too repetitive. Basically, that's all that's going on here, really. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this comes out, and I just go through that same process on every single one of the walls, which you'll see just now, pretty much. And there you have it. That is one basically complete wall of random just greebling design, of just random plates and tiles and whatnot. So I can show this as a better example. Of course I prefer to use more flat tiles instead of these jumpers, but that's just the situation I'm in with the amount of pieces I have and which pieces I have. I still think it doesn't look too bad. It'll look better when I say that it's done, but it's not yet. I still need to put vines in front of all of this, because Deed's quite famous for having vines across all of its buildings, so it's not really done yet. I need to put those vines on, then this can be done properly. And that should tidy up. I'll try and make those start on all of the jumpers, so it covers them up a bit. But yeah, now let me get back to you when I've done all the other sides. So that's my choices. I can either go for something small in this minifigure size scale, bigger at the brickhead scale, or in between. This is way too small, I think, when compared to just a regular figure. Like, I'll pull out this guy. They're just the same, so I don't want to go that small. And because this is a shrunken down size of the actual temple, this may look a bit too big. So I'm going to try and build something in between and also try and make it more accurate. So let's have a look at those. Okay, so I've spent a good amount of time today prototyping what I want these statues to look like. I came up with designs like this and other whatnot. I've decided I want to use these like smoother slope pieces, these rounded pieces, instead of just the rigid slopes. Like, where have I got one? I guess I've got this on hand. It's not a good example. This makes more sense. The ones around the bottom of this. Like, those are more like the rigid ones. These are more like the smoother ones. I decided that I want to make out of that because the statues are quite flowing in that way. Obviously, I'm not going to get it perfect, especially at the scale I'm building at. In which case, if you look at like the architecture Statue of Liberty, that would be my ideal way to make it look. But that is a lot bigger than what I want to put together here. So this is my current scale for the head shape. I'm just going to go for a 3x3 design with basically a bunch of snot bricks. So it's 4 of these pieces put in a circle, well, I guess in a square, and then the smaller one to create a 3x3 area. And then around that I'm either going to attach these smaller ones or, don't know where they go here, these bigger ones, depending on which one looks better. So, and they're not going to really have any face design, it's going to be quite smooth, but hopefully they do look okay. So let's have a look at how they've turned out. Okay, so I just ended that clip saying that I'm going to show you when this head's done, but I've put this together and I've immediately come into a problem. Whilst this is quite a cool shape and look, there is 3 main problems with this. One, once again, is the scale. If I'm holding it here and looking at, because the body needs to be bigger than the head, like not even by much, but even just in the same scale, it's gonna look like this head's a bit too big, unfortunately. So it's a bit big. The scale isn't the main problem, it's probably my least big problem, smallest problem. That's what least big means. But yeah, so I'd like to get it a little bit smaller. The second is, once again, parts. I thought I had a ton of these 1x2 light bluish grey curves, but it came from this pile where some of them is that, but most of them is the inverted version, which are a bit less useful. So I think what I'm going to do is do this same kind of design, but make it 2x2 instead of 3x3. So let's have a look at how that turns out. Yeah, I'm much happier with this design. Look at that. It's got a really cool rounded look to it. And it was actually really quite simple to build. You can pretty much see the entire process right there. Just using 2 of these pieces, 4 of the these pieces here, and then with just a 1x1 plate on each side just to fill in that little gap, but if you squeeze them together it does hold that shape, and then just 2x2 tiles on the side. I think in terms of scale that'll look pretty good. Still a little bit blocky. My one concern about this design is the top. I'm not really sure what I'm planning to do on the head for it. I was thinking about getting these pieces in light bluish grey and putting them on top, but I'm not entirely sure how that looks, or if that looks good. I don't have the 4x4 dish on me right now, and that's just like a bit bigger. Like, so now this is 4x4. Maybe that would look okay. I'll have to look into getting some dishes to go on the top of this. But for the time being, this is the design I'm going to go for. Let's move down into the body. Okie dokie dokie. So I've put together a bit more work on my statues, and I've come up with 2 designs that I like. And I'm not sure which one looks better. This is the first design. This is the simpler of the 2. Just with these like 2x2 pieces, 2x2 slopes on the bottom of the. I'm happy with the wings. I'm happy with the head, even though it looks a little bit more blocky than I'd really like. But this is the best I'm gonna get it at this point. Yeah. And this one where it's a bit slimmer, I think, like if I'll make it a little bit taller than it currently is. But again, those arms, they're quite a simple design, but they're just pretty. I'm okay with them. This side is the more bulky one. It's also the more flimsy one. A piece just fell off the back. Obviously I'd like both. On both of them I'd sort out the bottoms of them if it's the idea I went forward with. I think I like this one slightly less, purely because it's just becomes so wide it makes them look a bit fat and a little bit like short and chubby, if that makes sense. And I don't want like the dress to be wider than the head, so I think that one over there is the one. That one is the one I'm gonna go with. It also means I can shape up the body better by getting rid of those panels and just making it brick, so it's a bit smoother. So let's have a look at hopefully the finished design of those 2 statues. Okay, I've basically spent all day making these statues, but I'm so happy with how they've turned out. Like, ridiculously happy. Let's have a look at them. Here they are. As you can see, I've extended down like the dress a bit to get more of a just symmetrical shape. I'd like it a little bit more wavy, because it looks a little bit too blocky just now, but this is pretty much the best I'm gonna get out of this. The way I've posed the arms, I think it's a really cool look. It almost looks in like a defensive stance, using those hinge pieces and those rounded bricks to create a really like fluid motion, even though it's meant to stand still. And I've got the same thing over on this side. I know their arms are posed. I'll get their arms posed the same for the actual like ending, but I think that's a really cool look. Obviously this is looking quite grey at the top here, but this is all going to be covered in tan on this side. And I might give these guys as more like proper bases, just like a little bit that goes a little bit higher for them. But yeah, I'm really happy with how they've turned out next to our minifigure. They're just about the scale I want for this MOC. And I'm really happy with how they've turned out. I'm not even sure if I need to do the top dome pieces. This is the type of thing I wanted. This is in the old grey, so it's not that useful. But that's what it looks like with it on. With that weird bit of overlap, I think it might actually look better with it just off. Ideally, I'd like to replace those four with a tile, but the way the bricks I've used won't allow that. But I'm super happy with how these guys look. But I think that just about wraps up this video, this week's updates. So I've got a little bit more done. Filled up the inside of that, I couldn't do a ton this week, unfortunately, but I filled up the inside of that. I've done all the outsides to this bit, and worked a good amount on these statues, and I'm pretty happy with how they've turned out. Next week, I'm guaranteeing, I'm putting my foot down that I will finish that side there, and then make a start on the railings around here. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to use this piece again, because I think I bought all the cheap ones off of Bricklink, but yeah, we'll see. And then after that we can move on to the good old temple. So if you like this video, like the video, that's why it's called that. Yeah, comment on any improvements I can make. Like if you think I should use a dish on the top of their heads or not. And subscribe for more feeds so you don't miss any updates.